Got a little intro video happening.
Nice. Like it.
Welcome to Future Tech. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing good. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing wonderful. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Is there
Yeah.
anything new in your life in this rainy week?
No, just torrential downpours yesterday, and went to an event on Tuesday, which was good. It had good turnout in Burlington. So
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's Ryan Wong event.
yeah, Ryan Wong's event for fractional and fractional C-suite people, and it was really interesting. So it actually helped me to work on my pitch for the automation stuff. So
Fabulous. It's always good to work on that. And if you have people around that will give you feedback, that's great. I'm gonna have to ask you to stop touching whatever you're touching again.
sorry.
It's a
Yep.
habit of
Thanks for
it's a
reminding
habit of
me.
yours. Yeah. It is quite grinding. All right. I got most of that stuff loaded. I don't have any of my banners ready, but let's jump up with this share. First one. All right, I'm gonna pull up this first one here. So we got an update on the Neuralink processor from Elon Musk.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but yeah. So it seems like he wants to keep moving forward with the Neuralink in humans. So for those that don't know what Neuralink is, it's a product that enables control of devices through brain interface. So brain machine BMI, I guess, brain machine interface, which would aid paralyzed individuals. So yeah, the initial trials, they kind of exceeded the world record for brain computer interface bandwidth, but I heard that there were some issues with the current test that was going on. I don't know if
I haven't seen anything about current issues because I was just watched this announcement from Elon Musk that I have up here on the screen.
yeah.
Uh, I've been signed out. Not sure what happened there. I'm putting it up on the screen. I watched most of it. It's pretty good. And then
What did he
look
say in it?
that they're moving really. They're moving ahead. Version 2 is ready. They talked about that. This guy's the guy who's got the first implant is Twitch streaming.
Oh,
So you can watch him play games. He's playing Civilization at the hardest level online streaming while entertaining his audience, and everything is done through the brain interface.
cool.
So and you can ask him about it and stuff. So I'm hoping to find that and just do a little chat in the next couple of weeks just to
Yeah.
give you an update. But what we're showing here is they've got a little magnetic. What they're doing right now is you can charge it magnetically. So you put a little, I don't
Like a
know, whatever it is. Yeah, like a
MagSafe thing.
MagSafe on your head to charge this thing. That it's getting better and better.
Okay.
That they later on in this video they have a little game where you got to go click on the X's in a box, and the I'll see if I can jump to it because it's talking about it here. I don't. I'll find it as we're talking. Yeah, there it is. This
Can
thing. This. Go ahead.
can we really trust an update from Elon Musk though, based on his history?
I don't think we can trust any of these technology companies based on anything. Have you been paying attention last like
Yeah.
3 weeks alone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're already out to screw us every which way.
For sure.
When they have access to our brain, I don't think it's a good idea. However, it is future tech, and we should
Yeah.
be aware. And this saying that based on their test so far, it's 2 times previous world record for brain interfaces that was previously held by Microsoft. How fast they can input. They have this game on the website, so you can go play, and you can determine how fast you are compared to Buddy with the Neuralink.
Cool.
So it's interesting I'm always concerned about this, right? They feel like they've got some new technology and some new stuff around how they don't have to shrink the brain when they do the surgery to produce those air pockets and whatnot by using. I'm gonna say I forgot. I was reading it this morning. There's a chemical they use. It's a normal chemical we talk about all the time. Might be hydrogen. Might be something that what it does is makes the brain have less blood or more blood depending on the
Okay.
levels of it. So that will shrink the brain or increase the brain. So they have this. So now instead of the brain shrinking as a defensive mechanism and potentially causing damage when you're using brain surgery, they're going to use this stuff that keeps the blood flow normal and doesn't shrink the brain. So some of this stuff is really taking not just this forward, but maybe the all stuff related, everything related to your brain forward. From
Yeah.
how do we get access to it? To how do we not damage it when we're doing stuff? This is the air pocket and implant stuff I was talking about. So it's interesting. I like the concept. We all like the concept. We all
Yeah.
want to walk in a room and turn on the lights with our mind. We all want to be able to control stuff. So they
Yeah.
were talking about Neuralink's telepathy, which product enables the control of devices through thought, aiding paralyzed individuals. So like steering your thing, turning on your lights, whatever. Neuralink's Blindside project aims to restore vision using brain machine interface. So if you've lost your vision, it's going to use this brain machine interface to restore your vision.
Cool. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Neuralink's device is similar in size to a piece of skull, wirelessly charges and interfaces with brain signals.
Cool.
Users can control computers and play games. I mentioned that before, and you can actually go and watch the individual with this streaming and playing games and stuff. The device supports daily activities with up to 70 hours of weekly use, focusing on battery life improvements. So I guess
Okay.
you're only using the computer 70 hours a week or something. I wasn't quite sure as to what happens when you go over it. It says they're focusing on battery life improvements, but if it's wirelessly rechargeable, is
Yeah.
the issue related to the battery life, or is the issue related to brain stimulation and interaction and stuff? Initial
Okay.
trials exceeded world records. We talked about that. Future surgeries aim to refine electrode placement and minimize brain tissue disruption. We had that image up a little earlier. And Neuralink aims to enhance human capabilities beyond restoration, offering superhuman powers through brain machine interfaces. So
Interesting. I wonder if it would have the ability to tell your brain, or to get your brain to create new neurons, and that we'll talk about that in another article later today. But that just kind of made me think about that, right? So I'm still skeptical about this. I think we're on a path to the future, right? But there was one, I think, did we talk about it? About the guy who created a wireless BMI that attaches onto the side of your face kind of thing, and he just kind of disappeared.
no, I don't know anything about this.
Oh crap. Okay. So I'll find the article again. But it talks about this guy. I think he was at MIT at some point, and he had developed a non-invasive brain machine interface that worked, and it was in a prototype phase, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth. No one's heard from him since. So I guess we're getting into some conspiracy theories, but I'll do a deeper dive, and maybe we can do a follow-up talk on that.
Well, I think it's only conspiracy theory if you're claiming something.
Yeah.
Like if you just say he disappeared, that could be anything. Like though you're not
Sure.
claiming someone grabbed him and did something erroneous. He could have been, rock climbing and he's gone.
True, true, true. But apparently his tech was really good. So yeah, that's where the conspiracy comes in. He developed maybe something amazing, and they disappeared him. But anyways,
Well,
so what's this showing right now?
um, the difference in peak to peak brain motion. So what happens is how much each of these types of animals, including humans, brain move in the skull.
Oh wow,
So they go through a lot here. So you can see that the human brain peak brain motion is around 3 millimeters as
that's a
compared to
lot.
smaller animals. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we saw a picture earlier where you saw how the chip was kind of based on the skull and then partly in,
yeah,
um, so that it allowed for that movement and stuff. So this is really interesting tech, but like if you go back and look at when we first started talking about how scary it was and the animal testing they did and how freaked out about it I was, um, we're moving in this direction. It's one of those things. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we're going to give technology people access to our brains.
yeah,
But it's a quality of life for many people.
for sure.
With
Yeah,
So I think, the superhuman power thing, everybody wants it, but is it
at what cost?
really? Yeah. And that's where the scary stuff happens. What happens updates? What happens if it bricks something? What happens, all of a sudden you're blind because your update didn't work? And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here, and you can get dark really fast.
Absolutely. Yeah. But hey, if this ends up being viable and working out, then all the better. Because I know there's a lot of paraplegic, quadriplegics, deaf, like tons of people with disabilities, right? Where this could benefit them.
Absolutely. Let's jump on to this next one.
Yeah.
Uh, and this will probably be quick because I don't really have a lot to say here. It's just interesting. But Microsoft and Apple removed their open AI board seats amid regulatory scrutiny. The EU is taking a look at them and potentially going to sue them. And now they've dropped board seats, and you got to wonder. So OpenAI is a weird company where it's half nonprofit, half for profit.
Yeah.
And so I'm not quite sure the dynamic here because, as far as when you're on the board, which side are you focused on?
Yeah, true. And you know what? I have to say, I love I love how the EU is approaching tech companies and tech. They came out with their data protection act, which changed the whole game as far as how data is stored and all that sort of stuff. And they've followed through with it on finding companies for not following it. And so I love that they're not taking any prisoners. Although yeah, they're approaching it very well. So it's great to see that what they're doing is having an impact, because this is just, again, there's increasing regulatory scrutiny on big tech's relationship with AI startups and things like that. So they're investigating Microsoft. The CMA in the UK and the FTC in the US are investigating Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI around exclusivity clauses. So, yeah, and Microsoft, they said, oh, the observer role is no longer necessary as OpenAI has progressed under the new board. But again, we all know that's BS. Obviously, they would want a board seat, but it shows that regulators are focused on these connections on big tech and AI companies. So this is good. This is finally something positive when it comes to keeping these companies in check.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes. Like, 6 months ago, everyone called for, or maybe even longer, a year ago, we got to put a pause on AI. We've got to take a look at all this stuff. And, obviously no one slowed down at all.
Yeah,
And make a little fun of Elon Musk, though I like a lot of stuff he does. He was one of the big saying, we got to put a pause on this while accelerating his AI stuff.
exactly.
So it's one of those things. You stop while I catch up.
Exactly. Yes,
So
exactly. Yeah. So
and what does it mean if you're okay? So I take a look at this and say, okay, I am glad that people are looking at it, but is it really any of their business? And I take a step back and say, okay, this is from a not for profit point of view, maybe, but if from a for profit point of view, wouldn't you want to have exclusive deals with whoever you want to make the money you want?
True.
So that's why I get the concern. So that's why this is an unusual half for profit, half not for profit company. Where
I think it's less around the exclusivity clauses, more around the exclusivity clauses tied with the board seats. So
yeah, and I could see all of that. And the problem, we saw is that Microsoft gave them, invested what $10 billion, but it was
yeah,
in not $10 billion, it was the equivalent in compute and this and that. And for that, part of the things was they got a board seat, and that was really enforced after the bull crap about Sam being ousted.
yeah,
And a week later bring him back, and then the two people who tried, I think there's a couple of people who were involved in that are gone out of there now. They quietly so so then they said, listen, we need a seat on that board because we can't have this bull crap happening. You guys seem to not have the right executives able to make the right level of decision with a cool head on this board. Like, obviously that decision was stupid. No one said, let's talk about this. Let's bring Sam in and chat and get this resolved. So we'll see. Does that mean now, okay, they're ousted. So do we have, what do we used to call it? Supervision? Does the OpenAI founders and the board now have supervision? Do we have? I haven't looked at the board.
oversight, you mean?
Yeah, the proper oversight. When they brought the Oracle guy in.
I don't think it was more. I don't think it was for oversight. I think it was more for the knowledge and like helping with direction. I don't think any of these board seats were for oversight, or maybe there are. I don't know who else sits on the board.
They're not for oversight. They're supposed to be for, observation only. But, you know what's going to happen, right? You got your person in there.
Absolutely.
And, he calls Sundar Pichai immediately after the thing and says, you need to call these guys and say this and this and this. I mean, saying that they have no influence is bullcrap, because if you're in the room, you're in the room.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with them going after it. I just want to understand a little bit more as to what specifically they're doing wrong. Shouldn't everybody be in the room? But why should everybody be in the room? If it's a US based company, why should we be allowing EU companies in the room? So because of the AI race, I'm curious to see where this goes. But
yeah, I hope we get an update on this, a follow-up article.
We'll continue to follow and see what happens after the shakeup here, and I'll do a little bit more of a dive on the board, because the board of OpenAI has changed. And maybe I'll find something on the structure of the company, and what, because it is, again, different than most any other company that I've dealt with before. So I'm curious as to what is supposed to override what in the way of priorities.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
all right.
It'll be interesting to see how this progresses, for sure.
So let's jump on to this next one.
Yeah. So I think, I could be wrong. Did I not see an article that said that Ticketmaster was hacked again, as far as passwords were leaked, that they just released something?
Absolutely. 560 million accounts information was leaked. So if you've ever bought a ticket on Ticketmaster, they've got your password and information. So, go and change that. So
another nail in the coffin, not for these guys. So they've got this technology to stop scalpers or whatever, but prevent fraud and reselling. And they use this thing called rotating barcodes. It's called SafeTix. So surprise, surprise, a hacker in a day was able to reverse engineer the system to understand how it works. And so the barcodes, they use a time-based token, which is generated from a secret key to create valid codes. What he did was he was able to extract the token and secrets from the Ticketmaster website code to generate his own codes. So it just proves that the barcodes provide minimal real protection despite the marketing hype. So I'm curious to know. So this guy has published this, right? I'm curious to know if anyone else had figured it out but decided to keep it a secret. But yeah, it's just another mess up by this monopolizing company.
Yeah, and I guess this was supposed to solve the issue of, you have a ticket, it's on your phone, but because there's 1,000 people around, your cellular is not working, so you can't pull up your ticket on your phone, and the Wi-Fi at the venue is not working. And like I've been at this Rum concert, it takes 5 minutes for the ticket to show up before, and you don't think anything of it, and you don't, until you're up at the front of the line and everyone's yelling at you and all pissed off because they're waiting. So this was supposed to solve that. They came out, said it was unhackable, and within a day, 2 days, it was hacked.
Yeah. Well, they've had this technology around for a while. I've been to a few concerts where they have this. Maybe it's a newer type of rotating barcode technology, but I noticed that they did have this over the last year. I think this guy just decided to look into it, and it took him a day to figure it out, I think.
Wow. So what do you think this means for Ticketmaster? Is it going to change anything?
Yeah, so so just for those geeks out there, it's a base 64 type token. I think that they need to up their they need to do a lot. First off, they need to invest in some cybersecurity, new cybersecurity policies, new technology. It just goes to show how little they invest in their technology, right? They're doing the bare minimum for people, and they're raking in profits.
Yeah, if they're doing the bare minimum for that, they're charging you like so much money. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just on a side note, people were calculating the cost to go to a Taylor Swift concert in Toronto versus going to a Taylor Swift concert in Europe, and it was about half the cost, which included airfare, hotel, and the ticket for them to go see Taylor Swift in Europe than it was in Toronto.
That's kind of insane. So,
yeah,
the tickets are that much cheaper over there?
Yeah, because there's no monopoly over there. Ticketmaster doesn't have a monopoly over there.
Okay. Yeah. But also can't just be Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Like, no way. Like from Ticketmaster's fees do not cover a hotel room.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, no. But
it's got to be the demand here, and
yeah, because of the demand here as well. But also, funny enough, people are noticing that it's cheaper to fly to Europe than it is to fly within Canada as well, too, with Air Canada.
Yeah, well, Canada's got crazy costs for flights. I used to go to the US a lot, and I'd drive to Buffalo and fly out of Buffalo because it was so much cheaper, like so much cheaper.
Yeah,
it'll be 1,500, 2,000 out of here, and it'd be like $250 out of Buffalo. I was thinking, why would I? Yeah, I can drive that extra hour and a half, and so our costs around that are crazy, and so it is what it is. But so flying to Europe is cheaper, and then go to fly to Europe, get a hotel room, see Taylor Swift, and come back is cheaper than seeing Taylor Swift at the ACC.
Yeah.
That's probably got to be scalpers because it sells out so fast. But
the resale market. Yeah,
and you got to go where
that's the other thing. The EU has strict laws against reselling, so you can't resell tickets, or you can, but you can only. And I think Canada should adopt this. I think this is great. You can only resell it for up to 10% of the face value. I think maximum.
I'm not. Okay, I don't mind that idea. That the problem is that I bought tickets and I can't go. I'd like to be able to sell them or give them to someone else.
Yeah. So you sell them for face value, or you up it by 10%.
Oh yeah. Oh, if I can. Oh, I was okay with not getting face value. I thought you said 10% like of the car. I paid
Oh,
$100.
10,
I can only
sorry,
sell these for.
10% on top of face value. Like,
Yeah,
more.
that's more than reasonable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah, so that it works because it just I want someone to go and enjoy themselves. Even
Yeah.
again, a lot of times I'd give them away
Yeah, same
depending
here.
on what it was. And for this kind of thing, the value of the ticket depends on the city, right? You
Yeah.
see a show of a band in Toronto and it's 75, $100, but you see the same band in Hamilton and it's $30.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Or
you just
even
have
like,
to.
yeah, even in the States, like even though Ticketmaster has a monopoly here in North America, I was looking at the same artist to go to Toronto versus Buffalo, and it was like a third of the cost in US dollars. So it's probably half the cost in Canadian dollars to go see. And it's a big venue. We're talking like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like I said, the different costs in different cities based on demand.
Yeah.
They know analysis of we last time we were in I don't know Buffalo, we only had 50% of tickets, or we know the prices we can sell to fill the arena are X. Um, they've got that figured out. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but that in other smaller cities where they just don't have the population to fill those things, you've got to reduce the prices to get the people out.
Exactly.
All right, so there's some new stuff out
Yeah.
from Samsung.
Yeah. So we might as well touch on this quickly. So Samsung had their launch day yesterday. Can't remember what it was called, but they released the Samsung Flip Fold 6, a new Galaxy Watch Ultra, Galaxy Watch Air AirPods that they're essentially look like AirPods, and this Galaxy Ring. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I'm looking to get a ring. I was looking at the Aura, I was looking at the Ultra Human, I was looking at this. But caveat for those listening, it's not being released in Canada. The Samsung Galaxy Ring. Surprise, surprise. So really cool. No, the cool thing about this ring is there's no subscription that's going to be needed, unlike the Aura ring. But this is the first big tech company to release a smart ring, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see how it is. It can track health metrics like sleep, heart rate, menstrual cycle, for 24/7 monitoring. Like it's a bunch of things. It's pretty comprehensive. Connects with Galaxy phones and part of AI, Samsung AI's stuff. So yeah, it's a niche market, but I would rather, because I like old school watches, I would rather wear a ring with an old school watch, a smart ring with an old school watch, than a smartwatch.
I guess it depends on what you want the smart device to do. Now, I've seen these rings out for a while, and but and I keep seeing them talking about the Apple ring that they're developing. So the question becomes is, we are in the infancy stage. We've had two
Yeah,
rings that I'm aware about for a while. I think the Aurora, and what was the other one you mentioned?
the super ultra human.
Yeah, those have been out for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but what's the next stage of that? Usually, I don't like the first version of something because it's so limited in functionality, unless that thing that it does is that important to me. I'm usually not on that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
So
Yeah, but the Aura ring is in its third iteration. But this is the first iteration for the Galaxy ring, so we'll have to see.
And the question, the interface and what to buy. I'm not an Android person, so I wouldn't be rushing out to this. I might look at the Aura. I might look at the Ultra Human. I'll definitely be interested in looking at the Apple one when it comes out, because it'll work with all my devices
Yeah,
versus some weird API or software or proprietary software I'm going to have to use with these other devices.
perfect.
And that's just me because I'm old now and I don't want to fuss around. The question though is, how much better are these things as rings than watches for monitoring this stuff?
Funny you say that. So I was just reading an article. This guy was comparing this, I can't remember the name of it, but the Apple Watch, the Garmin watch, and the Oura Ring, and they were all off by between 40 to 80% as far as calories burned and things like that. So none of them work very well at all, which is why, like, I think there's a few extra features in the Apple Watch itself versus the Ring, because obviously you've got more room for sensors. But I don't think, if you're just looking to track your sleep, your heart rate, and exercise, I don't think it gives you your VO2, but it might. I can't remember, but when I see this article, it doesn't, but there might be a Ring that does. But yeah, if and the cool thing with this one is I think they took a page out of Apple's book, and they're introducing gestures, so you can double tap your fingers to take a picture with when you're wearing the Samsung Ring. So
To take a picture with what? It's got a camera built in?
no, when you have the camera app open, if you double tap, if you're wearing the
Okay.
Samsung Galaxy Ring and you double tap your fingers, it'll take a picture.
Great. Yeah, that's nice, because you're always looking for
Yeah.
Either third-party device to remote control my iPhone to do exactly that, to take a picture. So having some gestures and stuff on the rings to do that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or even be able to potentially turn the volume up or down on your headphones. I found that when I had an Apple Watch, one of the main things I used it was to control the sound,
Oh,
pause,
cool.
play, turn up the volume
Yeah.
or whatever for your Apple EarPods, right? Because they
Yeah.
don't really have a lot of. So I look at this and I say, this is great. I loved my Apple Watch when I had it, worked great, except for, like, it didn't really do sleep properly for me. I have trouble sleeping. I toss and turn. I have it on the sleep mode, and I do everything it's supposed to. And then you look at it and it says, well, you slept last Thursday. What?
And I
Like,
think it's better
what am
now. But it's
I,
yeah, I have someone who is tracking her sleep with the new Apple Watch. The Apple Watch, is it 9? And it's saying that she slept longer than she actually did. It's saying that she slept for like 9 hours when she only slept for like 5 or 6 because she was laying there, right? So it assumed that she was sleeping. So who knows?
yeah, I
Maybe
had
it'll learn. And yeah,
literally, I had the opposite problem where it only
yeah,
recorded me sleeping twice a week, even though I've, did everything, because I don't know, because I tossed and turned too much, because of this, because of that, because of whatever,
yeah.
because, it wasn't on my wrist properly. Who
Who
knows?
knows? Yeah,
But, you know, it wasn't effective. That's why I was looking forward to a ring that would hopefully be more effective at being able to, but it sounds like not yet.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
All right, any of this? What about the fold? They introduced the fold. There's not a picture of it here. Are
Yeah,
you interested
well,
in the
I'm more
fold?
interested in the Flip because I want to get another. I love my Flip, by the way. Motorola released their new Razr Flip, which is, I think, is better than, except for the processor, but I like it better than the Flip. But they released it. It's more boxy and makes it look more premium. The Fold and the Flip. They've got the thing with the Flip is they got the same camera sensor as on the Galaxy S24 Ultra or S24, 50 megapixel sensor. It looks actually nice. The Flip and the Fold look nice, but they still look pretty thick. So
All right, let's jump on to this next one,
yeah,
which is really interesting
super cool.
because, as you get older and your hearing degrades, your hearing degradation is one of the leading signs of dementia and whatnot. When you can't hear people properly, you start isolation, depression, and dementia sets in. So being able to potentially change that
Yeah,
is really exciting. So changing a single gene gave mice supercharged hearing. What's going on here?
crazy. Yeah. So this happened at the University of Michigan, and they explored boosting hearing via a gene modification. So for those, think CRISPR, guys. They focused on a nerve growth gene called neurotrophin 3 or NTF3, which previously showed it could restore hearing in aging mice. So how it works is increasing NTF3 creates more nerve connections called synapses between the ear and the brain. And as we know, synapses transmit signals. So this one transmits the signals from the ear's sound detecting cells to auditory nerves. So more synapses equals faster transmission equals better processing of complex sounds. So the testing they did in the mice is they boosted NTF3 and gave mice extra synapses and enhanced sound perception, which enabled them to distinguish smaller differences between tones and gaps in noise. It also improved their ability to discriminate timing and qualities of sounds, but it did not alter loudness detection, but it upgraded their sound comprehension, if that makes sense. So really interesting things. People are like, well, what does this mean for humans? So it suggests that potential hearing loss treatments could be developed to increase synapse density. There's also possibilities for improving or modifying senses through gene tweaks, but obviously we're talking ethical issues here, right? Are you on mute?
Yeah,
Oh.
you're breaking up a little bit there.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're breaking up a little bit there. I don't know if it's me or you, but I don't have any alerts here, so I think it's on your end. So basically, you're saying that there was definitely more comprehension, even though there wasn't more loudness.
I think, yeah, that's what the article said. That's what I deduced from the article. Yeah.
And when, as I go through this, obviously I want to know how this or when this is going to be more available for humans, because you can see that this indicates that a loss of inner hair cell connections causes delays in brain's processing of sound signals, as experienced by some humans with hearing challenges. These delays make it difficult to comprehend speech, particularly when other sounds at as similar volume are present, when other sounds are present. So
Yeah.
I guess because the delay is there, you're focusing, the person's already moved on before your brain can figure out what the words are. So is this going to help that, because you're going to be, well, that's what it sounds like. And it's
It sounds
because,
like it.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
get that. I mean, that's happened to me, reading certain audiobooks where you have a low talker with a thick accent and I'm straining to hear and I just can't. Like
Yeah.
after a while, I can't anymore.
Well, I don't know
Go
if
ahead.
you do this, but people with ADHD do this. Some people do. Is like you'll be told something and you'll ask what, or ask them to repeat themselves. And as they're repeating themselves, you're answering the question.
Yeah.
Because it took your brain, because obviously we have way too much information overload, right, coming in. So the thing is it doesn't seem like, and you're asking like when
When
we
it'll
see this.
get the humans, because I want to, we've got some
Yeah.
challenges here and we'd love to clarify this. Yeah.
Yeah, I did do a little bit of research. I don't think that gene therapy techniques like viral vectors or CRISPR are there yet. I think they need to be advanced to reliably deliver genes to inner ear cells. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles, other than ethical concerns around genetic enhancement, regulatory approval, and safety and efficacy. Right. So when you're modifying genes, like you have to make sure that you're exact. You can't be off, because if you do something wrong, you could mess up someone permanently, right? So isolating the effects of single gene modifications from overall development is going to be super difficult in humans. We're way more complex than mice. The also thing is permanence versus a need for reapplication of gene therapy is also needs to be optimized. But like I'm thinking we're 15 years away from anything safe. No more 10 years.
Well, that's great. Are there auditory downsides that we're aware of? Great. It helps clarity, range, acuity, but are there downsides that we're aware of right now?
Yeah, so the study focused on improving sound processing and discrimination, but not amplifying volume detection. So there's really no evidence that the genetic changes directly impacted perceived loudness or sensitivity to intense sounds. But the extra synapses may transmit all signals, including loud ones, faster to the brain. So it's possible this could allow damaging sounds to reach deeper auditory regions before protective reflexes kick in. But on the other hand, faster processing could help discriminate intense sounds faster and activate protective mechanisms quicker. So again, they're going to have to do a lot more research on this. Absolutely.
What are the ethical concerns? Because we go through this genetically enhancing senses and abilities in animals, but then in
Yeah.
humans, like I could see obviously genetically enhanced guard dogs and other things, but this leads us down to the road. What was that TV show in the 90s?
I don't know.
Where might have been Hunter,
I
um,
never saw that.
where the person had like the ability of animals. He could hear like an animal and see like certain things. And
Oh,
so based on some tribal thing that happened to him, and it wasn't Hunter because that was a rough and tumble cop show. That was so there was something else like I can't, the Guardian, something, I'll look it up
okay.
later, but we're leading towards that. Like seriously,
Yeah,
between this and Elon Musk's Neuralink, where they're gonna give us superhuman powers to interface with things and whatnot, we're really going to a cyborg, genetically enhanced, dark angel slash Iron Man kind of world.
absolutely. Yeah, but like the ethical concerns for the abilities in animals, there's quite a few, right? So we're talking animal welfare for one, enhancements solely for human benefit without regard for animal well-being. That raises issues. So genetic changes um, should improve, not impair quality of life. If we're talking about dignity, so radical augmentation beyond an animal's natural capacities could be seen as infringing on the integrity or dignity of the species. We could have unintended consequences. So genetic modifications may have unknown side effects, impairing health or behavior. So this is new research that still needs to well, yeah, ethically does it continue, but so altering natural behavior, so augmentation that enable unnatural skills could disrupt important species typical activities for socialization, mating, different things like that. So it's a slippery slope. Even with good intentions, augmenting animals raises concerns of a slippery slope towards more radical modifications in the future. So there are clear limits and prohibitions will need to governing which augmentations are acceptable versus unethical.
Yeah, without any form of consent from an animal perspective, what
Exactly. Yeah, we don't know how they're feeling either, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's also the ethical concerns around animal testing, and then that escalates to ethical concerns around human testing after that. Whether it be, you said focused on quality of life, but let's face it, this is, Johnny Mnemonic right around the corner.
Yeah. $1 million Man. Isn't no. $1 million Man was bionic, right?
$6 million man. Yeah,
Or six. Sorry. That was before my
that's all
time.
right. That's all right. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing because there
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be a
we are.
$1 million man that I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Bionic Woman, which was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know? And I got this from an interview with the Bionic Woman, that she thought the thing was so ridiculous that she had this super powered hearing, but when she had to move her hair out of the way. That she only did that for 1 or 2 episodes, and
Yeah.
she stopped saying, "I'm not doing that anymore. It's stupid. I can hear through concrete. I can hear through all this stuff, but I can't, I got to do
It's
this thing."
yeah.
And so what they did was they took those shots from the first 2 episodes of her ear, and every time they did that flip, there were those shots all throughout the whole run of the episode, the
That's
whole series. Sorry,
hilarious.
yeah, because she wouldn't do it anymore.
Jesus. Crazy. Yeah. But no, this is cool and also scary, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And genetic enhancement, scary. But if we can, if we can solve hearing loss, if this helps with dementia and isolation and depression in the elderly, I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
Me too.
I'm not sure when we get past that, what kind of imbalances we're actually going to create in humanity.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump on to this next one.
I'm excited for this one.
All
I'm
right.
excited for this one specifically because of the one question that you came up with.
So lab-grown human brain tissue used to control robot. So scientists take another step towards organoid hybrid intelligence. This is scary as crap.
Yeah. So organoids are like they're mini 3D versions of organs. So it's not something like hugely sci-fi. It's just a name that they're given to mini 3D versions of organs that are grown from stem cells. So they allow studying organs like brains in vitro for research. So brain organoids are grown over a decade ago. Were started to be grown over a decade ago, but we're improving them. So the thing is the growing organoids. So they originate from pluripotent stem cells, which are usually embryonic stem cells. And then chemical signals guide them into self-organizing into specific tissues. For brain organoids, they use factors promoting neural cell types, which grow in spinning bioreactors to form spherical 3D structures. Really cool. I wish we had a video to show because it sounds like it would be really cool to show if they had animations or anything. So they can mimic discrete brain regions like cortex, retina, etc. But yeah, so they've created an organoid brain organoid that can connect to electronics using microelectrode arrays, which allow for recording electrical activity. And they can stimulate organoids by zapping electrodes, translating neural signals into kind of the digital domain. And then the LED screens show visual data to optic organoids and electronics. They form kind of an IC or an integrated circuit. So really cool, but also really scary, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is scary, especially when you look at stuff like this. A brain organoid biochip displayed serious voice recognition and math skills. We're building these brain on a chip, literally brain on a chip. Like we're creating brain mass, artificial, growing it, and sticking a chip in there and making stuff happen. If this isn't scary at a level, I don't know what is. Scientists have 3D bioprinted functioning human brain tissue. So it's functioning a new method. So a new method of assembling neuron cultures horizontally instead of vertically helps solve long-standing issue of 3D bioprinting these things. Go ahead.
The one thing though, and the thing with the lab-grown organoids is they only mimic the cellular structure and signaling of brain tissue. They don't mimic the complex anatomy of a full brain. And I say yet because I think they could potentially in the future. But yeah, as of right now, that's where they're at.
Yeah, to accomplish this feat, researchers have integrated machine learning algorithms into an organoid-enhanced neural computing network, marking a notable achievement in further explorations into hybrid intelligence.
Yeah, and one thing to note is the organoid itself that we're talking about, it contains the order of millions of neurons, and I think our brain has, I think it's like 80 billion neurons in an adult human brain, or something like that. So there's a lot of missing neurons.
Yeah, and here's some scientist representation of what a future organoid might look like. So we're growing human tissue, brain tissue, a neural net. We're sticking stuff on it. It's learning. When I say sticking stuff on it, we're sticking machine language and computer chips to have this stuff learn. Is this going to be closer to Cyberman or Daleks? Because this looks like a Cyberman, where we just get rid of all your personality, get rid of all your stuff, and you just do as you're told. We just
so first off, before we get into the Doctor Who, that picture that you're showing right now reminds me of Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They just need to put the brain in the stomach as opposed to at the top there. So that's a little scary. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah. So the Cybermen versus Daleks. So the Cybermen were, for those that don't know, they were originally humans who replaced parts of their bodies with artificial and robotic components. So they were blending biological and technical elements. So I think that the Cybermen are closer, but so in contrast, the Daleks are purely artificial life forms. So they're not originally biological. So they possess distinct identities and goals, unlike the basic biometric networks of the organoids, right? So I would say the organoids, because the organoids originate from biological human brain tissues, just as the Cybermen were originally human before augmentation, whereas the Daleks are kind of a purely non-human mutant race. I say the organoids are more the current state of the organoid technology is more closely aligned to the Cybermen model than it is to the Daleks.
Yeah, the Daleks are some sort of mutated alien form, completely mutated by radiation, stuck inside this metal shell that.
But it does make sense because I think
life.
if you see a picture of the Daleks, they've got the top of their whatever body is clear, and they've got a brain protruding, I think, in there.
So, where does this go? And, should we be moving forward with this? Like, this is, not, this is scary. And, what are the benefits versus the risks?
Yeah. It's crazy because like there's so many questions that come into play, right? Like do the organoids experience any form of consciousness? So if we're talking how far away and ethical concerns and different things like that, like you're using human stem cells to create organoids, which raises consent issues and ownership concerns, right? Implanting human-derived neurons into robotic systems, that blurs the lines between life forms. So so if organoids become more sophisticated, issues may arise related to exploitation, rights, welfare, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of ethical concerns that come into play here. But I think we're still early. I think we're looking at like 20 plus years before we see anything that resembles even close to a human adult brain.
Yeah, it's suggesting we don't worry about human synthetic robot cyborg armies just yet, because the tiny Terminator is only meant as a model for future OI machine. What future OI machines may look like. Like I laugh at that. I was like, "What do you mean?" It's as the army doesn't have to put together, doesn't have to draft humans who don't always follow orders precisely.
Yeah, but the thing is if I was doing this kind of research, I would be coming out with statements like telling people not to worry as well.
Of course, but it is what it is. It's silly telling people not to worry as you reference Terminator and cyborg armies. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. So how far could this technology one day repair brain damage in people? This is something I see as a benefit.
Yeah, so that's interesting. There is some potential that they could one day use to repair brain damage in people, but there's still a lot of hurdles. Like organoids could act as a source of healthy brain tissue to replace damaged regions. But again, there's so much about the brain that we don't know. Brain surgery is very complex. So, but they could help establish new neural connections in the brain after injury. The organoids could deliver therapeutic compounds to support brain repair, but there's a lot of challenges in successfully integrating organoids with existing neural tissue and avoiding immune rejection, right? But again, if they're grown from your own stem cells, there's less of a risk there. But there's organoids could structurally integrate with brain tissue, not just electrically. They could form two-way connections for recording and activating neurons. The goal is regenerating damaged brain areas, not just tapping into healthy areas. So again, there's a lot of ethical issues, but there is potential there, but yeah, technology is way far away from that.
And as we sit back and we've talked about the Neuralink earlier on, is this going to potentially allow more advances in that area where
Absolutely.
we generate the brain tissue and the circuit integration and then just stick that into the brain rather than?
I could potentially see that, yeah, but again, I would say that is 20 years away too. Like they need to, well, maybe less if they're just trying to kind of integrate it into current brain as opposed to whole brain. But yeah, I think this could only help with that with Neuralink for sure.
And other things, like I could see if we can repair neural activity in the brain, then we can solve some interesting problems, like in specific areas of the brain. Like we're way far away from that, but you know, if we can regrow areas of the brain for brain damage, then you know this is, or do something. Again, I don't know exactly how you'd cut it out and then regrow it or whatever, but it sounds like it has an interesting potential for a human capacity later. I'm not too excited about the cyborg stuff that they're planning on building.
Yeah, no, that's scary stuff for sure.
And is the organic network better than the electronic one?
Yeah, for sure, because you've got a lot more connections that can be made. It's a lot more complex. Absolutely, I would say it can handle things much better than a chip for sure.
Any last words on this?
No, just be careful. Scary stuff.
Indeed. So, John, you help companies get government funding.
Absolutely, yeah. So non-dilutive funding, anywhere from pre-seed to Series B. If you're looking to get government funding, reach out to me. If you're looking to help automate your workflows, you can talk to Craig or myself because we're both looking into that as well. So, using AI automation workflows.
Yeah, look forward. I'm planning on starting a thing in August, give or take, around automation challenge, automation face off, where we'll solve automation problems in multiple ways and with multiple tools and see how that goes. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for everything else, go to torontostarts.com to get the podcast, to check out our future events. August 14th, the Futurist Blockchain Futures After Party. If you're going there, grab your ticket. And, you know, the Blockchain Futures After Party is, or the Blockchain Futures Conference is John's favorite conference of the year.
Love it. Yeah, I love what Tracy Leparulo and her team and Laura Leparulo do. It's a great conference at Rebel and Cabana. If you're into Web3 and anything blockchain related, even if you're not, it's a great conference. They've got people from all walks of life who attend, and it's really well done. And obviously, it's going to be a great after party at Startup Drinks TO for sure.
Yeah, and I understand the construction in that area is done, so it's easier to get to and from because they had
Thank
that all.
God.
Yeah, so that was a problem last year where it was hours to get. Maybe not
It's been
hours,
a problem for the last few years. So yeah.
So that's great. And again, thanks everyone for attending. Check out torontostarts.com and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.